Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very first community webinar of 2025. My name is Adam Evans, and I facilitate our community webinars here at ArcXP. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. We have a very exciting presentation for you guys today from one of our partners. Before we jump into the presentation, we just wanted to cover a few announcements and a few upcoming events. So first, here is a list of some of the in-person events that we'll be at in the next couple of months. Everything from AWS events in New York City to INMA World Congress, all sorts of industry events. You can see the list here. If you are going to be attending any of these events, we would love to meet up with you. So be sure to reach out to Marissa Cole. Her email address is here on the slide. And let us know that you'll be there, and we'll make sure that we can plan some time to meet up with you. Also, a list of all these events is on our events calendar. There should be a link on the panel that you guys are viewing right now. So click over to that to see a list of all of our events, links to register, and then it will also have some contact information for you to reach out there. So we hope to see you at one of our events coming up. And again, let us know if you're going to be there so we can be sure to connect. One very exciting event that we have coming up on February 20th is Ignite 2025. This will be in Toronto. And today's webinar is kind of a little bit of an appetizer to the main event. So obviously, we're partnering closely with Viafoura for Ignite 2025, and you'll be hearing from Viafoura today. So if you're in Toronto or the Toronto area or can make the travel arrangements, we would love to see you there in person. It's shaping up to be an excellent event, and we already have a healthy amount of attendees or registrants. And then also, I just want to tease our community webinar for February. It's going to be on Thursday, February 27th at 12 p.m. Eastern. And this is going to be an ArcXP event where you're going to hear from Joe Croney, our Chief Technical Officer, as well as varying leaders throughout our product and engineering group. And they'll be showcasing our product vision, what's coming on the product roadmap for Q1, and how the product is going to be shaping up this quarter. So if that's of interest to you, please register. We will be sending out links or registration links via email, and it should also be on our community calendar linked on your panel. All right, without further ado, I will hand it over to Christina Nguyen, who heads up our partner program at ArcXP, to share a little bit about partnerships at Arc and then introduce today's speaker. So Christina.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Christina. I manage our strategic alliances and technology partnerships here at ArcXP. So our growing partner program today comprises of system integrator partners and technology partners who all operate on a global scale to help our customers solve for their unique challenges and ultimately succeed in the current market. So the technology partner program specifically is built with two things in mind. The first is to meet our customers in their current tech stack. So we're all about operational efficiencies here at ArcXP, and ensuring that your tools work seamlessly is tantamount to that mission. And the second is to introduce complementary solutions to our community of customers, solutions that are interesting, topical, and effective that help your organization achieve its goals, whether that's to drive innovation, be more efficient, drive engagement, boost revenue, or all of the above. And spoiler, our featured partner today ticks the box for all of the above. Viafoura's technology empowers media brands to activate their audience, transforming passive casual users into engaged and loyal community members. They are thought leaders when it comes to audience engagement, building those loyal communities, and unlocking new revenue opportunities. So Mark Zohar, President and CEO of Viafoura, is joining us today to discuss audience strategies and what you can expect next with Viafoura. So Mark, we're so excited to have you here. And thank you for kicking off our community webinar for this year. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Adam, and excited to be here as part of your partner webinar and being a partner of ArcXP. So yeah, today I'm going to focus on, as the title says, is the shift that we're seeing and increasingly the imperative of kind of thinking about audiences differently. How do we, as publishers and media organizations, shift audience and move them towards a more loyal and active community of users that generate more value and address some of the key trends and challenges in the industry? So just to get started, kind of as a pin in what we're going to be discussing today is, the media landscape is increasingly fragmented, and attention and the attention economy is really what we're competing for. And in that model where we're competing for eyeballs and attention from social media and alternative platforms, we see this shift in importance of media brands moving their focus from just acquiring anonymous, passive, and largely fleeting audiences, which has been kind of traditional through social referral traffic and otherwise, to creating active and loyal communities. And these are communities that have more creatives in it, collaborators with the brand, and people who connect with each other on these publisher and media brand sites and with the brand itself. So before I get started into this, just a little bit about Viafoura for those of you unfamiliar with us. We're a digital experience platform, and really our focus is on driving engagement and activation and turning those audiences into communities. 3 areas specifically that we kind of focus on in driving outcomes for our customers: engagement and retention. How do we drive more user engagement on site, keep users there longer, consuming more content, coming back more often, retaining those customers through more recency, frequency, and volume of visits. Secondly, we're really very much focused on outcomes related to conversion. How do we create more value exchange moments to drive more known audiences, to drive registrations, and ultimately to improve conversion towards subscription and premium services? And finally, because much of what we do in supporting media brands' goals is to generate much more data and audience insights, especially around declarative insights around users' interests, their sentiment, their propensities, and delivering that first-party data back to our customers so that they can have better insights into audiences, they can target them better for advertising purposes, create better segments, as well as create more personalized campaigns and offers on site. We work with over 800 global media brands, many of them being ArcXP customers as well, primarily in North America, Europe, and Latin America. We're really proud to be regarded and designated as a leader in our industry by our customers, and through the G2 customer review platform. We take customer service and advocacy really seriously and very much focus on driving outcomes and clear business outcomes for our customers. And I won't go into a lot of detail on this, but our digital experience platform is really comprised of kind of 4 key pillars, if you want. The engagement suite, which is kind of our front-facing, customer-facing applications and products that are integrated into our customer CMS. These include conversations, article commenting, ratings and reviews for products and experiences, polls and custom opportunities to create custom polls, a community chat feature, which really pairs well with live video or streaming video to create almost kind of a YouTube live experience on your owned and operated properties, live Q&As, and other types of engagement experiences. We then layer a personalization layer on that, so things like content recommendations, so we can surface content on site that has highest community engagement, alerts and notifications, and personalized feeds. Because we enable conversations and user-generated content on site, content moderation is really critical to ensure brand safety and civility. And we have an industry-leading both AI-driven moderation solution as well as humans in the loop that help ensure brand civility and help train and improve and optimize the moderation capability. And finally, as I mentioned on the first-party data segment, all of those 3 kind of first rings generate what I like to call data exhaust. So we generate insights around personas, around user profiles that can be delivered into our customers' DMPs or CDPs or other data systems. And we very much kind of focus on helping to enrich the existing data that you're collecting contextually or otherwise through higher intent, higher value data. Okay, so the first thing I want to kind of start with is some of the key trends that are impacting audience acquisition. Audience acquisition is obviously very critical to driving traffic to site, but we're seeing some impacts across the board when it comes to, for example, things like declines in social referral traffic, Facebook, Twitter or X traffic, and other social referrals have been really under pressure recently. In many cases, it's down over 50%. And this was traffic and audiences, if you will, that publishers and media brands kind of counted on over the last many years. As that referral traffic, it declines, it puts pressure on where to find additional audiences and how to actually keep your existing audience coming back. Secondly, I think we're all familiar with the continuing saga of the third-party cookie deprecation. The lack of the ability to kind of track users across site creates some challenges in terms of monetizing audiences and also in terms of some audience acquisition strategies. Third, the growing aspect of Gen AI and especially kind of Google's Gen AI overviews, is starting to impact search. If users are basically getting their information directly on Google's walled garden and not clicking through to publisher sites, again, it creates some stress on audience acquisition. Fourth piece is really about just what I mentioned earlier, is the fragmentation of media consumption. There's many more opportunities for audiences to find attention elsewhere. So it used to be kind of media sites and publishers and social media, but now we have the rise of alternative media platforms, podcasters like Joe Rogan, Substacks, and so on. And that just creates more fragmentation and again, puts stress on audience acquisition. And finally, to a certain extent, the shift to reader revenue. So moving directly from a kind of a free advertising-based model to a paywall or a reader revenue model, just creates more challenges to keep those users from bouncing right away and give them reasons to stay on your site and build that audience. So these are all kind of trends that are impacting audience acquisition. And really from our perspective and from our customers' perspective, it drives a need to really own your audience now and to drive more direct traffic where you have returning users who are loyal, coming to your platform and reducing the reliance on kind of third-party audience acquisition. Now, that doesn't suggest that we shouldn't continue to look for audience acquisition channels on social and search and elsewhere, but it does put more of an emphasis and imperative on that direct traffic and building that returning loyal customer base. So when we talk about audience and we talk about community, this is kind of a quote I like, is the difference between audiences and community is an audience listens, or in the case of maybe publishers, consumes, whereas a community is much more participatory. It interacts, it shares, it grows together, and it can create a flywheel of experience that drives more and more engagement and monetization. So one of the things that is very clear in today's for today's modern audiences is that they actually crave communities. I talk a lot about kind of what, the original sin, if you will, of media brands effectively outsourcing their audiences to social media and having those communities develop on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or elsewhere. With the move towards more direct traffic, reclaiming those audiences from social and reclaiming those conversations and communities is critical. But at the same time, those audiences on social have developed certain habits and expectations that of how they want to connect and with each other and connect with brands. And so moving from a model which is kind of a one-way model for media brands to communicate and for audiences to consume content is really a drive for those audiences to become more active and participatory. They want to leave their opinion. They want to leave a comment. They want to collaborate with the brand, ask them questions, connect directly with journalists and media personalities, connect with one another, and drive more loyalty between that audience and the brand itself. And the notion of communities is just core to what really kind of modern audiences are experiencing everywhere else. And so what we see is if an audience or a user comes to a site and all they can do is consume content, there's that cognitive dissonance in terms of what their expectations and habits are. And communities are a great way to service that need. This was a great study last year by FT Strategies called Next Gen News. And it was really about how do media brands and publishers address the needs of younger audiences. Again, digitally, socially native audiences. And the reality is that, again, these audiences need and desire connection. And not only that, in many cases, the community itself is the draw for them. Many of them come down to the comments or the community aspects, even more so than the content, to kind of to get some context, to see what's happening, to see trends, and obviously to connect with other like-minded peers. The other part to this is the connection with the brand. And so things like live Q&As with journalists and other kind of social interactive aspects are key to drawing in younger audiences. And again, it's something that they definitely lean into and builds that loyalty between the audience and the brand itself. So we're seeing more and more of our customers thinking about how they grow their audience over time, how they reach new audiences, and community and connection and interactivity is really a key part of that going forward. This is a really good framework that I like to kind of gauge whether your strategy is actually working towards building a community as opposed to serving an audience. And so the acronym is TRIBE, the T for togetherness. Are you giving people a space to be together on your own property? Rituals. Can people participate in regular routines and build habits to come back and connect with each other? On the identity side, do they feel like they're actually connecting with peers, cohorts, and like-minded people? On the belonging side, are they feeling part of something bigger than just themselves? So it's not just the content and their consumption, but they're feeling that they're kind of welcomed into something larger than that. And finally, on the engagement side, can they contribute to the conversation, not necessarily with the need for the brand, but with themselves and with others? And so this is a really good framework. And when we work with our customers, we kind of really want to check the check boxes here that tribe model is being served for their audiences. The other major trend that is happening is the kind of the rise of the creator and influencer economy. And one of the things about that is communities themselves are great ways to partner with and attract creators into your brand experience. Yahoo is doing some really interesting things here. Last year, they launched this Yahoo for Creators, effectively, going out and promoting their platform, Yahoo's platform, as a platform for creators to come to have access to the platform, to have access to Yahoo's brand, to its reach, and build a community on Yahoo's site to reach that audience, and also to participate in the monetization opportunities. And this is an area that we think is really going to grow over the next several years. there's no reason why creators on TikTok or Instagram or other platforms shouldn't have an opportunity to reach your audience on your own media brand. You've got trust and brand and reach and audiences that they may not be able to reach today. If you build a platform where those influencers or creators can come and participate, and there's community aspects, they can connect with your audiences, they can have an opportunity for monetization through the platform. That's a way to partner with creators, and those creators can ultimately bring their audiences onto your platforms as well. So I think you're going to see much more of that. Forbes Contributor Network is an example. It's been around for a while. And we're talking to a lot of our customers about how they can partner with and really help to leverage the creator economy for their own good. So the next part about this is, what is the impact of community? It's one thing to think about creating communities and the trends that drive it, but the reality is that community is a significant driver of business impact for customers. In this slide, what you see here is kind of how we think of kind of the general funnel. At the top, you have your general audience. So this is your flybys, your anonymous audiences. They may not be registered and so on. The next is your community members. So these are members who are more participatory, they're more highly engaged. They may be leaving comments, they may be part of a Q&A, they may be even just engaged with the community aspects of the site. And what we see across our network of customers is that community members can drive upwards of 5 times more revenue than your general audience. And that's because they have much more loyalty, they're spending more time on your site, they have a much higher propensity to subscribe to premium services, and they're just generating more value for your overall. And that shift from that anonymous audience to that community, participatory, highly engaged audience is a massive driver also for optimizing your funnel towards registration and subscription. And as I kind of alluded to, activating your community strategy can double your registration rate. For many of our customers, Viafoura helps drive upwards of 30 or 40% of monthly registrations because it gives users that value exchange. In order to participate in the community, you generally need to register. And that registration drives a known audience. It gives you a identifier, allows you as a publisher to target those users better, to follow up with them, and to kind of recirculate them across your site. This is an analysis we did with one of our customers that looked at community members and saw that they are 31% more likely to pay for a subscription. And maybe as importantly, they're 2.5 times less likely to churn if they kind of churn their subscription to come back to the site, because they were kind of missing the community elements of it. And it was a big driver of not only retention, but kind of resubscription. The other thing that is clear about community and user-generated content is that in today's world of increasing AI content, Google is absolutely prioritizing community and user-generated content as part of its search ranking algorithms. So this is well known in terms of Reddit being a major beneficiary of some of the changes Google made last year. Obviously, Reddit being a core community site. But we're also seeing other aspects of community that are being boosted by Google. So sites that have ratings and reviews where users can provide authentic ratings and reviews of products or experiences. Obviously, conversations and commenting, all those are driving more search visibility, and we're seeing our customers benefit from those types of things. From a reader revenue perspective, community is also a great driver of and contributor towards subscription growth and subscription conversion. We're deploying right now and implementing with our customers a number of solutions that help drive subscriptions. So one of them is metered engagement. Metered engagement essentially allows our customers to meter highly engaged users' engagement and then drive them to a next best action using high propensity user data. So for example, someone may be reading a lot of comments in the conversation aspect of things, but they're not registered yet. We can meter them and then drive them to register to get more value. And similarly, really high engaged users who aren't subscribed yet, we can work with our customers to drive our propensity data to move them to the next best action to subscribe. We're also seeing community being used to create tiered offerings, especially premium offerings. So a good example of that is in a Ask Me Anything or live Q&A. Many of our customers are creating a tiered experience where anyone can kind of experience that without registering or subscribing. But in order to actually ask a question of a journalist or an expert, you have to be a subscriber. And there are various other ways to create tiered offerings, effectively packing more value and using community as a value driver to increase the value of your premium services. We're also seeing the rise of kind of exclusive communities or even micro communities. So these could be communities around a specific vertical or specific set of content. A good example of that is some of our healthcare providers are creating exclusive communities for doctors to engage with one another and so on. And that can create premium opportunities for subscription as well. And then finally, the declarative first-party data that helps drive our propensity models. And many of our customers are using this data to actually better train and better optimize their own paywalls and their own subscription propensity models to drive a lift in overall conversion rates. So this next few slides is really about some of the kind of operational, strategic and operational aspects of how do we actually go about building a community and what are the kind of key aspects to do it right. And it really comes down to three things: intention, cultivation, and operation. I'm not going to say it today. Of that. Sorry about that. So on intention, one of the things we talk a lot about is that this is not a set it and forget it. You can't just put community on your site and expect to get the full benefits of it. And so the idea here is to really treat it as a core strategy. And one of the things that I think we do really well is work with our customers to ensure that we understand what their objectives are. We set North Stars in terms of metrics and KPIs, and that could be an increase in time on site, an increase in registration growth, a contribution to subscription conversion rates, and so on. And so really kind of then structuring the solution to ensure that we're aligned with those key metrics and KPIs. The other aspect to this is that, this is also something that's kind of a multi-stakeholder aspect within an organization. Need to ensure that there's corporate and team alignment. Everyone from editorial to product and to commercial teams are aware of why they're in it for community, how they're going to ensure that it moves forward and drives those results. Which also gets to the notion of like resource planning, a commitment to doing this. We're aware that publishers and media organizations are, resource constrained and time and priorities are an issue. But even doing a little bit in terms of that commitment towards community, for example, journalists engaging with the audience, makes a massive impact on outcomes. With regard to cultivation, as I mentioned earlier, if you open up your brand and your owned and operated properties towards a form of community, you want to make sure that that community, as it engages with each other and with the brand, is consistent with your brand guidelines, with your community guidelines, and and have a civil and safe space for everyone. And that really is around defining what your kind of community guidelines are, what you're willing to accept. As an example, a sports site may be willing to accept more smack talk than a more conservative news site or broadcaster. So really defining what those guardrails are. One of the things that we do on our end is ensure that we tailor and customize that moderation algorithm towards your community guidelines. Related to that is, you want to build these habits and create that engagement flywheel that I mentioned earlier on. And that requires, really understanding how your audience is engaging with the community, how you build habits, for example, with notifications, alerts, bringing them back off platform to on platform with highly personalized notifications. For example, hey, someone replied to you, someone followed you, there's a new live Q&A starting. All those things create those habits of coming back and that engagement flywheel. And the rest of it is really around making sure that the community that you're cultivating is consistent with your own values, with your own brand guidelines. And it does take a little bit of patience. One of the things we say is, you can't create a community overnight. It takes some time, but once you start getting that flywheel going, the benefits and the engagement really starts to come pretty quickly. And finally, kind of on operationalizing this, one of the things that our customer experience team does really well is work with our customers to create these playbooks. And those can be around specific initiatives like how to run a live Q&A, which I'll talk about in a bit, or how to engage with your audience and build that initial kind of community experience. And how to actually take that business intelligence and data that you're getting from those audience insights and use them to further your own goals around personalization, advertising, and so on. So the key message to leave you with here is that this is a strategic model and requires, to some extent, setting these goals like anything else and working towards creating that flywheel through these kind of three key pillars. So the next few slides, what I want to walk you through is some examples of how our customers have used community to drive the outcomes that I've referenced. So this is one of our customers. We're based in Toronto, so Toronto Star is one of our local publishers and one of our customers. And what you see here on the slide is an example of how they significantly improved and advanced their key goals and metrics by deploying and really operationalizing community across their owned and operated. At the bottom left is where the Toronto Star was. So just to make it clear, the axis here is time on page per UV on the y-axis, and page views per unique visitors on the other axis. When we first started with Toronto Star, they were at the bottom left, and in part because they were a little reluctant to put, to really dive into community, and they kind of took it pretty slowly. But over the next 12 to 14 months, they really leaned into it and made community a core part of their overall strategy. And so what they did was they expanded community across almost their entire site. They started to implement new tools like our engagement starter, which allows them to kind of feature community elements in article. They started using polls. They started deploying community also in their native apps to their most loyal and active users. And they really operationalized Ask Me Anything events to connect their journalists and their editors and outside experts with their audience. And all of that success actually led editorial teams to really lean in and participate more. And so over the course of, I think, a year or so, they went from kind of one of our poorest performers when we look at this on this graph to by far one of the top leaders. And going forward, what the Toronto Star has done is really kind of put community into almost every part of their strategy, from subscription to registration to editorial engagement to newsletters and featuring community as part of their newsletter outreach and into their mobile strategy. And it's now just, again, part of their overall approach to dealing with their audience, dealing with their subscribers, and dealing with their internal champions and editorial teams. Another interesting example is a customer of ours in the UK, which is GB News. GB News is actually, I think, the fastest growing news site in the UK. What they wanted to do is they're a broadcaster, and as they kind of launched their digital strategy, which is fairly new, it's like 18 months old or so, they really want to figure out how do they bridge their broadcast audience and their digital audience. And they came to the conclusion that the best way to do that is to use community as that bridge or that pillar to drive user engagement from broadcast to digital and back and forth. The other kind of key driver for them was they want to drive a membership model. They're kind of a free site, but they want to kind of create a membership model that's driven by user donations and give value to those members. Somewhat similar to what the Guardian's done on the digital side as well. And their last kind of key goal was how do they build those user habits that keep users coming back to their digital site and retains those users across both broadcast and digital. And so this is going to be difficult to see here. What they did is they launched something called the Have Your Say page. So effectively on GB News, they have a watch live section. They live stream their broadcast. And underneath it, they've kind of created a community section. And so what the community does is they're watching the live stream and they're asking questions of the host. They're commenting on the news of the day. They're engaging with one another. And in order to kind of get priority, they also have a membership model. So if you're a member, you get featured higher up in that community section. They also have decided to run advertising in this community section to generate ad revenue from these highly engaged users on their digital property. And the impact of this has been like hugely significant for GB News. You can't see this right now, but this page currently has almost 3 million conversations and comments going on. It is like a place where people wake up, they go to this page, they engage with the brand, they engage with another, and they built absolutely those habits of return and retention. And the impact, as I mentioned, has been hugely significant. That Have Your Say page and the community elements are driving well over 30% of total site registrations. And just to give you a sense of that is when they started, they were at 0. And so we really kind of helped them build a known audience that they're now leveraging. They've seen engagement interactions like first-time commenters and likes and registrations and time and comments, hugely grow over time. And now it is probably one of their, if not their core digital strategy, is that community bridge between broadcast and digital. The other thing I should mention is that the on-air hosts of their broadcast are highly engaged with the community. So they'll actually pull out questions from there, they'll read them on air, and they'll engage with the audience through that. Another example of a community model that's been really effective is the Toronto Star's live Q&As. Mind you, we have many customers running live Q&As today, including people.com and others. But what the Toronto Star did is they started with a very high impact live chat around this case in Toronto around these billionaire murders. It was a podcast. And the investigative reporter who was followed this kind of unsolved murder of this billionaire in Toronto started running these live chat, live Q&A experiences. And it became a huge success. Users came in, they registered for the event, and they asked questions about the case. They, in fact, in some cases gave them tips. And it became this like really highly engaging, highly active live Q&A, to the point that it launched them to use this as an ongoing series for other topics and so on. And again, these live events have been a huge driver of engagement and value for the Toronto Star and our other customers. So registrations on these live Q&As are 2 times site average. Time and comments is like 16 times. And again, across all metrics, they've seen huge gains in terms of bringing those users forward. They're now creating a tiered model for subscribers. And it's become operationalized as part of their overall audience and community strategy. Okay, so just a few key takeaways, and hopefully there's some questions, and happy to answer them. As we look at the market, as I said, we're seeing audience acquisition increasingly under pressure from all the things around social and search and fragmentation and third-party cookies. And really what that is driving is towards an imperative drive to build more direct traffic. Own your own audience on your own operated properties is more critical than ever. And creating strategies that drive that direct relationship, that drive that loyalty is imperative for future growth. Also, it addresses the core needs and expectations of your users. Audiences, they want community, they want connection, they want to not just consume content, they want to provide their opinion on it, they want to engage with your brand, they want to engage with one another. Providing these types of tools becomes a way to bridge the expectation and habits from social onto your O&O. And it's not just for the sake of doing it. It drives measurable results and huge ROI, as we've seen with our customers. It becomes a core driver of really all the core aspects that you're looking at. Return visits, frequency of visits, registration growth, contribution to subscription conversion, and so on. And the time now, as all these trends are happening, is to start transforming your audience from into community members. And just to end it off, this was from late last year, an article on Discourse by that looked at the publishing and media industry, and I think this is exactly right. In 2025, media needs to take community back from the platforms, and in doing so, be able to nurture that audience and build those habits and value for themselves. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions and look forward to any feedback.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark. That was fantastic. So everyone, you have a Q&A function on the screen. So if you have any questions, type that in and we will get to your questions now. And Christina, feel free to come back in as well if there are any questions on your side. I think to kick things off, one of the questions that we're seeing queued up here is about the bridging broadcasting and editorial. Have you seen any examples of that in your work and with your client base?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have for Graham Media Group is a good example. A little bit similar to what I mentioned with GB News. They started to bridge their digital and broadcast by live streaming, for example, their breakfast television show on their site, opening up this chat on their digital property and having their audience come in and build that habit. The other thing that we're starting to see is kind of second screen experiences. So if you have OTT or connected television, being able to create a community experience in your native app So I'm watching the broadcast on my big screen TV in my living room, but I can open up the native app and actually connect with a community. And so we're starting to do a lot of work in our mobile with our mobile app to create these second screen experiences connected to, again, bridge that digital to broadcast.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. And then we had another question come in. In addition to live Q&As, what are some other strategies the Toronto Star and other news publications have used to grow their audience through community?
Yeah, there are a range. I mean, I would say that live Q&As, by the way, are incredibly effective. Probably one of the biggest driver of registration growth as part of an engagement or community strategy. But beyond that, yeah, it's our view is it's really an integrated approach and integrated model. So everything from custom polls that drive more conversation, debates. The Independent does a really good job of encouraging debates on key topics that gets their users really highly engaged. It's everything from, even ratings and reviews on products. If you're a local media company, or if you're a recipe site, or if you have affiliate commerce and want to do product reviews. So everything from ratings and reviews to article comments to community chat to second screen experiences. And I would say that discoverability is really important here. We work a lot with our customers to ensure that it's not enough to have just community on your site or in your app. You have to make it highly discoverable. So everything from, I'll give you a good example, Newsweek, one of our customers, is featuring top community contributions on their homepage and driving people to know that, hey, there's an opportunity for you to be featured. So lots of different aspects to it. It's much more than just commenting on articles. It's a fully kind of integrated approach to driving audience participation to build community.
All right. I actually have a question, and it's around, earlier we are talking about different revenue ways that community and audience engagement can contribute to revenue. Have you ever seen community offerings be as part of tiered subscription offerings, different features?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I think more and more of our customers are thinking about and leaning into 2025. Especially, what we saw in the last 2 years, our customers kind of really refining their paywall strategy and their subscription strategy. Now that those dynamic paywalls are in place and some of the subscription strategies, the next part is, okay, how do I do a better job of tiering and tiering for value? So absolutely, as I mentioned, some of our customers want to make some of these community elements a subscriber-only benefit, or meter it so you only have a set amount of ability or engagement options as a non-subscriber, and then move you to a subscriber path. And again, things like having direct access to key events, community events, live Q&As becomes a kind of key part of that subscription strategy. So yeah, we're seeing more and more tiered offerings. I would say the other thing that we'll see more of in 25 and into 26 is what I call micro communities for subscribers. So if you have a really deep interest in, so for example, we work with companies like Dotdash Meredith and Future, and many of their specialist media, and so they'll have a cycling world. And so to have a community for specific areas of for cycling and verticals, these micro communities become another great part of driving community towards subscribers or subscription.
That's amazing.
Awesome. All right. I think those are the questions that have come in. Feel free to add any last minute questions. Mark, if someone was interested in Viafoura and wanted to talk more about all of the amazing benefits and features you talked about today, what is the best way for them to move forward?
Sure. Well, my email is there. Hopefully you can take it down. It's mark.zohar@viafoura.com. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or follow Viafoura on LinkedIn as well. Or visit our site and ask for a demo. We'd be happy to walk you through our our solutions and see how we can tailor it for your needs if you're thinking about community or expand your existing community strategy. But yeah, our focus really is on helping media organizations and publishers deal with some of the pressures that are happening in the industry and take more of their audience into, as I said, that really loyal, active, returning, highly monetizable community members. So happy to answer any questions offline, and feel free to reach out.
Great. And Christina, if someone is a current ArcXP customer and they want to work with Viafoura as well, what would you recommend connecting on the ArcXP side?
Yeah, if you're an existing customer and you'd like to learn more, please reach out to your account manager, your technical account manager, and they can get you connected with Mark and the team at Viafoura.
Amazing. All right. Well, Christina, Mark, thank you so much for your time today. We hope to see everyone in Toronto at Ignite 2025 on February 20th. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Mark directly or your account manager. And we hope everyone has a great day. Thanks so much, folks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.